everybody, I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. Welcome to the garage and the court of public opinion. You've heard me maybe mention a couple of times Andy Martin to you. Andy Martin is the whiz kid who he used to work at 5AA as well. Anyway, he's the whiz kid behind a lot of the podcasting that you see around Australia. This program being among those. Anyway, he was making a comment to me about last week. You remember when well, maybe you weren't watching, I don't know, but I was wearing sunglasses, and I pointed out to you that, you know, it wasn't affectation, that I really had to wear them because I've got several lights here to light up the dark end of the garage so we can do our posting on Facebook. And he said, something strange happened, Jeremy. When you started wearing the dark sunglasses, you got 10,000 new viewers, which would translate into listeners as well, I suppose. But Pete, how could that be? I mean,
well, we know that it's.
But why would somebody wearing sunglasses suddenly start?
Well, it worked for Roy Orbison.
It worked for Roy Orbison. Well, look, what I want to do is to say to you, if you want me to wear dark glasses to do this little show, I'm very happy to do it. If there's something about dark glasses that gets to you, I'm very happy to go along with it. So just tell me, send me a message. The dark glasses are a turn on or a keep you watching trick. I'm happy to go along with it. Well, we start with the brand new week. Happy Monday to you, by the way. It's the 13th. I always thought it was called Tuvalu, a bit like Tupelo in America, where Elvis Presley was born. But apparently, listening to the Prime Minister on some of the news broadcasts during the latter part of last week, it's Tuvalu. Tuvalu. The prime ministerial pronunciation is not Tuvalu, it's Tuvalu. Now, I really don't know what's right. Maybe I just go on calling it Tuvalu. But he did say this, which I thought was interesting. I believe that developed nations have a responsibility to developing nations. Mr. Albanese is here, I think, revisiting the Lima Declaration, which I urge everyone to Google and have a look at. With which, of course, he would totally agree. Are we really going to go down that same disastrous track of 1973 and sack lots of people and do it in favour of third world countries, divesting ourselves of our manufacturing industry? Is that what our Prime Minister goes off on a world trip to achieve? And listening to the ABC coverage of this story, disgraceful. Disgraceful. Well, I thought anyway, the script, I imagined, had been written by the government. No questions. How will this strategy ameliorate climate change? This was the big announcement on Friday and Saturday. How will this ameliorate climate change? Opening our doors to South Pacific Islanders, I mean. What is it to do with us? 1% of global emissions? While these, 280 islanders each year come to Australia and go straight on welfare. I wonder who chooses them. Anyway, I don't know that they're going straight on welfare, but I bet they will. What sort of visa will they have? Permanent residency? Do we know anything about each of these 280 individuals? Remember, that's 280 every year. And I've got no reason to believe that the same offer won't be made to other South Pacific islands. There are only 1,100 people in the country. Tuvalu, I mean. The entire population is 11,200. Now, it's not going to take very long to empty the entire country. Why? Oh, maybe we're going to have a Tuvaluan flag behind the Prime Minister to match the other three. Huh? Is this all about a security deal to keep China at bay? That's the impression I seem to be getting. Why, when, if you think your island will disappear because of global emissions, why would you cozy up to China when they are the big polluters? They are your problem. China is the country most responsible for your predicament, if indeed that's what it is. That's what we are told is worrying the people in Tuvalu and all the South Pacific Islands, unless of course there is no rising tide, and these islanders figure that a good bidding war between Australia and China would be just great. Come in, spinner. A good old South Pacific shakedown. Have you ever been to Fiji, Pete?
Yes.
Do you love the way they sort of bargain and they barter, and you know the price of this is such and such, and but we'll they love that. I mean, I can just see them setting this whole thing up, and here is this bunny from Australia.
Yeah. I do.
God.
I do love the islands. I love the people of the islands.
I love the islands and the way of life and all of that sort of thing, but I don't think we can be fooled by any of this. I think the Prime Minister has been conned, or maybe he is the con. How does the water, here's a question, how does the water rise in the South Pacific without it rising at Glenelg, or Outer Harbour, or West Beach, or Sydney Harbour? Now, I remind you, the famed, iconic Opera House is right there on the harbour at the water's edge. No change for centuries in the water level at Bennelong Point. Please explain. Can the Prime Minister be so stupid? And of course, with the help of satellite photographs, anyone can see that the islands are actually growing slightly in size each year. Now, if I can find that out, why can't the government, or Foreign Affairs, or CSIRO? Why not the media? Perhaps, I know, the ABC. How about that? No. Anyone who questions climate change in the fashion of the ABC, as they imagine climate change, is in imminent danger. This emergency, the world is teetering on the brink, the crisis of climate change. Anyone who says anything different to that, of course, would be branded immediately a fool, a heretic. And I tell you, it takes courage to tell the emperor that he has no clothes on. But there he is, standing right there, ladies and gentlemen, stark naked. And it's just for us to recognize the fact. We got another cruise ship crisis. Now this time it's not the, what was it called, Pete? The Ruby?
Yeah, the Ruby Princess.
The Ruby Princess? Well, this one is the Grand Princess, or the Grande Princess, which has an outbreak of COVID and gastroenteritis, and she's on her way to Adelaide. Pete, I'd keep away from the port if I were you.
I will.
Yep, I would. And this, of course, comes at a time when we're being warned of a Christmas COVID crisis wave, a Christmas resurgence. What do we do? I don't know. I really don't. Isolation, distancing, washing the hands, the masks. I mean, do we do all that again? I don't think we've got the will. I'm sure we've all got the interest because none of us wants to get sick. You never got it, did you, Pete?
No.
No, I didn't either, thank God, but I've had the full five needles. Christmas shopping spending will be down 30% because of the interest rate hike, or more correctly, hikes, I suppose. Now, this is the shock horror headline. Christmas shopping down 30%. The news media for you. Hey, listen, guys. Do you think maybe you could join the dots? Interest rates are being put up to slow spending, which will curb inflation. Are you people dumb or just pretending? Anyway, what I'm saying is the Reserve Bank strategy is working. The Retail Traders Association have conducted a survey of Christmas spending intentions, and most people will be spending, they say, a little over $600, down from a little under $800, $750, something like that. But that again is a demonstration that the interest rate hikes are working. The interest rate hikes are meant to achieve this curb in spending. It's not shock horror, it's mission achieved. But maybe you don't think that'll attract viewers or listeners or sell newspapers or something, but for God's sake, hell's bells. Keswick Army Barracks, been a familiar landmark here in Adelaide for years and years and years. It's been transferred from the Commonwealth of Australia ownership to the ownership of the state government. Now, it's all part of a land deal or transfer of wealth or something, but it would be a perfect place for the police graze. And they've been shunted from pillar to post, and that's not right. We need them close to the city because they do a wonderful ceremonial and picturesque and policing job. They do a great job. Time for some dates, Pete?
Yeah.
Okay. Some other things I wanted to talk to you about, but I don't seem to have the time. Pauline Hanson has come out and called for the Welcome to Country to be banned. Australians are sick and tired of Welcome to Country, and particularly when people have to pay for it, and particularly when it started out as a joke. I'll get to that later in the week. Maybe keep that for Friday, so we can talk about that around the dining room table on jeremycordeaux.com. Yep. Anyway, it's an interesting world. Never a shortage of things to talk about. What do we have here? We have the 13th. Some of the things for which we remember the day. Australia's first lighthouse goes into service at South Head. I remember that. Great white. If you've been to Sydney and you've been down New South Head Road or Old South Head Road, and you see this, particularly if it's a stormy day or a stormy evening in the sky. Pete, as a photographer, you'd love this.
Oh, yes.
You know, almost black sky and this beautiful white, huge lighthouse sitting out there.
Yes, I've always loved lighthouses.
Yep,
Yeah.
Australia's first lighthouse at South Head goes into service 1918. I think that was possibly put there as a result of the Dunbar sinking, crashing into rocks. Because there was no way, if you were sailing towards Sydney, you'd be on the rocks before you really knew where you were. So it was a good thing to have, the South Head Lighthouse. 1868, Rossini, composer of famous operatic comedies like The Barber of Seville, and then later on grand operas like William Tell. Anyway, Rossini, he dies on this day in 1868. First helicopter to achieve flight carrying a man, designed by Paul Cornu, rises 2 meters above the ground in France. Not exactly a great altitude, but, oh golly, 1907 was the year. Helicopters go back that far. Wow. Australia's first radio station goes to air. Well, they say it was 2SB, Sydney Broadcasters Limited, SB, went to air on this day in 1923. But that, of course, morphed into, I think, what was 2BL and 5DN, actually, here in Adelaide, from Green Hill Road at Parkside, went to air the same year, but it was earlier, but it was a test broadcast. This was the real deal in Sydney. Walt Disney animated movie Fantasia has its world premiere in New York in 1940. Golly, it's been around that long. The British aircraft carrier Ark Royal is hit by a torpedo off Gibraltar in World War II and sinks early the following day, 1941. Dear, oh dear. Gary Marshall, who made a lot of those sitcoms and American television shows, with his wife, 1934, who was born. Charles de Gaulle is elected President of France, the Provisional Government, in 1945. He stayed there as President for a long, long time. US Supreme Court rules that segregation of the races on public buses is unconstitutional. 1956. Well, of course it's unconstitutional, and it's stupid. No race-based colour of your skin-based kind of segregation for any reason, anywhere. I don't get it. I really don't. Yasser Arafat was a friend of mine in Sydney, used to call him Yasser Crackerfat. He becomes head of the Palestine Liberation Organization, 1974. The first modern elastic brassiere. I don't call them brassieres anymore, do they? I'm a bit out of touch. I don't know.
Well, just they're bras, aren't they?
That's a bra. Yeah. But there was a time when women didn't wear bras, they burned them.
Yes.
Wore T-shirts. And
Helen Reddy, thank you.
What was it? What?
Was it Helen Reddy? No. She was
no.
Anyway, but.
Well...
now, who was that? Germaine Greer, wasn't it?
Germaine Greer, but they were all feminists.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't like to be disrespectful, but I just don't think they were terribly feminine. I don't think they got the whole business of... Jean Shrimpton and the miniskirt and all of the fashions of the 60s. They were on a completely different intellectual plane, one that I was never invited to join. God help me. Yeah, anyway, the first modern elasticized brassiere was patented in the United States of America by Mary Phelps Jacob in 1913. So what did women wear before that? I mean, a chemise, I suppose, or they didn't bother.
Well, unelasticized.
Unelasticized? Yeah, maybe. But wasn't it Howard Hughes And Jane Russell, who was starring in a movie that he was making, didn't he tie two handkerchiefs together or something and make what's folklore, I suppose? I don't know. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back tomorrow. That I do know. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux with Peter Clayton behind the camera. This is the Court of Public Opinion. Believe in yourself. Thank you for viewing. And if you enjoyed the show, pass on the address or the podcast address, or come back to Facebook and see us tomorrow. Bye for now.